Loving yourself first means making a decision that your life, your emotions, your dreams, and your peace are no longer negotiable. In a world that constantly pushes people to prove their worth through achievements, relationships, and social validation, self-love becomes the anchor that keeps you stable when everything else feels uncertain. It means understanding that you are not here to earn the right to exist. You are here to live, to grow, and to become. When you love yourself first, you stop chasing people who do not choose you, stop explaining yourself to those who have already decided not to understand you, and stop settling for less than what aligns with your values. You begin to treat your time as sacred, your energy is limited, and your presence is valuable. This shift transforms the way you see your past, because instead of blaming yourself for what went wrong, you start honoring yourself for surviving, learning, and still moving forward. Self-love teaches you to be gentle with your wounds and firm with your boundaries, creating a life where peace is not a luxury but a standard. The book explains that loving yourself first is the beginning of emotional independence. Many people grow up believing that their happiness depends on being needed, loved, or approved by others. This belief creates fear of rejection and a constant hunger for attention. But when you learn to love yourself, you realize that your worth does not rise or fall with someone else's opinion. You become your own source of validation, your own place of safety, and your own emotional home. This does not make you cold or distant, it makes you whole. You begin to choose relationships out of desire, not desperation, and connection out of fullness, not emptiness. This inner stability allows you to love others more purely, without attachment, control, or fear of abandonment. Loving yourself first also means learning to listen to your inner voice instead of silencing it. Every person has an intuition that speaks through feelings, instincts, and quiet knowing. Many ignore this voice to please others, avoid conflict, or fit in. Over time, this creates confusion and self-doubt. The book teaches that honoring your intuition is an act of self-respect. When you trust your inner guidance, you make decisions that align with your truth, even when they are difficult. This trust builds confidence, clarity, and a deep sense of self-connection. You no longer feel lost in your own life, because you are guided by an inner compass that knows what you need to grow and what you need to release. Another powerful lesson is that loving yourself first requires releasing the need to be perfect. Many people are trapped in self-criticism, believing they must fix every flaw before they deserve love, success, or peace. This mindset creates endless pressure and emotional exhaustion. The book explains that self-love is not about ignoring your weaknesses, it is about accepting your humanity. It means allowing yourself to be a work in progress without withholding compassion. When you stop punishing yourself for being imperfect, you create space for growth that is healthy and sustainable. You begin to treat mistakes as lessons, not as proof of failure, and this shift transforms your relationship with yourself from one of judgment to one of understanding. Finally, loving yourself first means choosing your peace over proving your worth. Many people exhaust themselves trying to show the world that they are good enough, smart enough, successful enough, or lovable enough. This constant proving creates anxiety and restlessness. The book teaches that true peace comes when you no longer need to perform for acceptance. You allow your actions to speak, your character to stand, and your presence to be enough. This quiet confidence does not seek attention, yet it naturally commands respect. It is the confidence of someone who knows their value and no longer questions their right to exist, to dream, and to live fully. Loving yourself first means learning to stand alone without feeling lonely. Many people confuse solitude with emptiness because they have never learned to be at peace with their own thoughts and emotions. The book explains that when you truly love yourself, your own presence becomes comforting rather than frightening. You no longer rush to fill silence with noise or fill your life with people who do not respect you just to avoid being alone. Instead, you discover the strength that comes from self-connection. In solitude, you begin to understand your desires, your fears, and your dreams more clearly. You start to build a relationship with yourself that is based on honesty, patience, and acceptance. This inner companionship becomes the foundation of emotional stability, allowing you to walk through life with confidence, knowing that even in moments of isolation, you are never truly abandoned because you have learned to be there for yourself. The book also teaches that loving yourself first requires the courage to let go of relationships that drain your spirit. Many people stay in unhealthy connections out of fear, attachment, or the hope that others will change. They tolerate disrespect, emotional neglect, and inconsistency because they believe that being with someone is better than being alone. But self-love changes this equation. When you respect yourself, you no longer accept crumbs when you deserve wholeness. You understand that love should bring peace, not constant anxiety, and that connection should feel safe, not confusing. Letting go becomes an act of self-protection, not loss. It is a declaration that your emotional well-being matters more than familiarity, and that your heart deserves to be treated with care and sincerity. Loving yourself first also means learning to speak kindly to yourself, especially during moments of failure and disappointment. Many people become their own harshest critics, replaying mistakes and using words that they would never say to someone they love. The book explains that this internal dialogue shapes your confidence and your future. When you replace self-judgment with self-encouragement, you create an environment within your mind that supports growth rather than fear. You begin to see setbacks as temporary and mistakes as lessons, not as evidence of inadequacy. This compassionate inner voice becomes a source of strength, reminding you that progress is more important than perfection and that your worth is not defined by a single moment or outcome. Another essential lesson is that loving yourself first means honoring your boundaries without guilt. Many people are taught to be available, accommodating, and pleasing at the expense of their own needs. Over time, this leads to exhaustion, resentment, and emotional imbalance. The book teaches that boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that protect your peace and preserve your energy. When you say no to what drains you and yes to what nourishes you, you demonstrate self-respect. You learn that protecting your time and emotions is not selfish but necessary for a healthy, balanced life. Boundaries allow you to give from a place of fullness rather than depletion, creating relationships that are based on mutual respect rather than obligation. Finally, loving yourself first means trusting your journey, even when it does not look like anyone else's. In a culture that constantly compares success, timelines, and achievements, it is easy to feel behind or inadequate. The book reminds you that every life unfolds at its own pace and that your path is shaped by unique experiences, lessons, and purposes. When you love yourself, you stop measuring your worth against someone else's progress. You begin to honor your own growth, your own healing, and your own evolution. This trust in your journey brings peace, patience, and a deep sense of belonging within yourself, allowing you to move forward with confidence and faith in who you are becoming. Loving yourself first also means releasing the habit of over-explaining your choices to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Many individuals feel the need to justify their decisions, their boundaries, and even their emotions, as if their life requires permission from others. The book teaches that when you truly respect and love yourself, you become comfortable with letting your actions speak for you. You understand that not everyone will agree with your path, and not everyone needs to. This acceptance brings a quiet confidence, a sense of inner authority that does not seek validation. You stop shrinking your truth to make others comfortable and start standing in it with calm certainty, knowing that your life is your responsibility and your happiness is your right. Another powerful lesson is that self-love requires patience with your own healing process. Many people become frustrated with themselves for not moving on fast enough, for still feeling pain, or for carrying emotional scars from the past. The book explains that healing is not a race, it is a journey that unfolds in layers. When you love yourself first, you allow yourself the time and space to heal without judgment. You honor your emotions instead of suppressing them, and you understand that every feeling has a message and a purpose. This patience creates emotional safety within you, allowing wounds to close naturally and strength to return gradually, without force or pressure. Loving yourself first also means choosing growth over comfort. Comfort often keeps people stuck in familiar patterns, even when those patterns are limiting or painful. The book teaches that self-love is not about avoiding challenges, it is about embracing them with the intention to become stronger, wiser, and more aligned with your potential. When you step outside your comfort zone, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than you once believed. This courage builds self-trust and a deep sense of pride, not based on external achievements but on the knowledge that you are committed to your own evolution. The book further explains that loving yourself first transforms the way you experience rejection and disappointment. Instead of seeing rejection as proof of unworthiness, you begin to view it as redirection. You understand that not every door is meant to open and not every connection is meant to last. This perspective protects your self-esteem and preserves your peace. You stop internalizing no as a personal failure and start recognizing it as a sign that something better aligned with your growth is ahead. This shift allows you to move forward with hope, resilience, and trust in life's timing. Finally, loving yourself first means creating a life that reflects your values, not just your responsibilities. Many people live on autopilot, fulfilling expectations placed on them by society, family, or circumstance, while neglecting their own desires and passions. The book teaches that self-love involves making intentional choices that honor what truly matters to you. It means designing your days, relationships, and goals in a way that supports your well-being and purpose. When your life aligns with your values, you experience a deep sense of fulfillment and inner harmony, knowing that you are not just surviving but truly living, with respect for who you are and faith in who you are becoming. Loving yourself first means learning to forgive yourself for the times you ignored your intuition, stayed in situations that hurt you, or settled for less than you deserved. Many people carry silent guilt and regret, replaying moments where they feel they should have known better or acted differently. The book teaches that self-forgiveness is a powerful form of self-love. It allows you to release the weight of the past and reclaim your emotional freedom. When you forgive yourself, you acknowledge that you did the best you could with the awareness you had at the time. This compassion toward your younger self heals shame and builds a bridge toward confidence, allowing you to move forward without being trapped by old stories or self-blame. The author also explains that loving yourself first requires developing emotional independence. This means learning to soothe yourself during moments of anxiety, disappointment, or uncertainty instead of depending solely on others to provide comfort. When you cultivate this inner support system, you become more resilient and less reactive. You understand that while connection with others is valuable, your sense of stability and peace must come from within. This inner strength allows you to face challenges with composure and to offer love to others without losing yourself in the process. Another important lesson is that self-love transforms the way you approach success and failure. Many people tie their self-worth to outcomes, believing they are only valuable when they achieve or perform well. The book teaches that your worth is inherent and does not fluctuate with circumstances. When you love yourself first, you can pursue your goals with passion and dedication without attaching your identity to the result. Success becomes a celebration, not a requirement for self-acceptance, and failure becomes a lesson, not a verdict on your value. This mindset fosters perseverance, creativity, and emotional balance. Loving yourself first also means becoming aware of the stories you tell yourself about who you are and what you deserve. These internal narratives, often shaped by past experiences and social conditioning, can either empower or limit you. The book encourages replacing stories of unworthiness, fear, or scarcity with beliefs rooted in possibility and self-trust. By consciously choosing thoughts that support your growth, you reshape your identity and open yourself to healthier relationships, greater opportunities, and a more fulfilling life. This mental shift is a form of self-respect that strengthens confidence and clarity. Finally, loving yourself first means committing to your own well-being on a daily basis. It is expressed through small, consistent actions, choosing rest when you are tired, nourishment when you are depleted, honesty when you are afraid, and courage when you are uncertain. These choices signal to your subconscious that you matter, that your needs are valid, and that your life deserves care and attention. Over time, these daily acts of self-love create a strong foundation of emotional security, inner peace, and self-confidence, allowing you to live with authenticity and purpose. Loving yourself first means learning to detach your identity from other people's expectations. From childhood, many individuals are conditioned to seek approval from parents, teachers, society, and later from partners and employers. This conditioning creates a deep fear of disappointing others and a habit of living according to what is acceptable rather than what is authentic. The book explains that true self-love begins when you recognize that your life is not meant to be a performance for an audience. You are here to live your truth, to explore your potential, and to make choices that align with your values. When you release the need to constantly please, you reclaim your personal power. You begin to experience a quiet freedom, a sense of relief that comes from finally allowing yourself to be who you are without apology or justification. Another profound lesson is that loving yourself first involves trusting your emotions instead of suppressing them. Many people, especially in achievement-driven cultures, learn to ignore their feelings in the name of productivity, strength, or control. The book teaches that emotions are not weaknesses, they are messages. When you listen to your feelings with compassion, you gain insight into your needs, your boundaries, and your desires. This emotional awareness helps you make wiser decisions and prevents the buildup of unresolved pain that can later manifest as stress, anxiety, or burnout. By honoring your emotions, you demonstrate respect for your inner world and create a deeper sense of self-understanding. Loving yourself first also means choosing authenticity over acceptance. It is tempting to shape your personality, opinions, or behavior to fit in or to avoid conflict. However, this constant self-editing leads to inner fragmentation and dissatisfaction. The book emphasizes that when you are true to yourself, you attract people and opportunities that resonate with your real identity. Authenticity becomes a magnet for meaningful connection and genuine success. You no longer fear being misunderstood because you value self-alignment more than universal approval. This courage to be real strengthens your confidence and nurtures a sense of inner peace that comes from living in harmony with your true self. The author further explains that loving yourself first transforms your relationship with time. Instead of rushing through life or feeling perpetually behind, you begin to appreciate the present moment and your current stage of growth. You understand that every phase has its lessons and that comparison only steals joy and clarity. By respecting your own pace, you reduce anxiety and cultivate patience with your journey. This mindful approach to time allows you to savor progress, celebrate small victories, and remain grounded even when the future feels uncertain. It teaches you that life is not a race but a process of becoming. Finally, loving yourself first means recognizing that your worth is not defined by productivity alone. In cultures that glorify constant hustle, rest is often seen as weakness or laziness. The book challenges this belief by reminding readers that rest is a form of self-respect. When you allow yourself to pause, to recover, and to simply be, you replenish your energy and clarity. This balance between effort and rest creates sustainability in both success and well-being. By honoring your need for restoration, you affirm that your value lies not only in what you do, but in who you are. Loving yourself first means developing the courage to outgrow versions of yourself that once felt safe but no longer serve your highest good. Growth often requires leaving behind old habits, beliefs, and even relationships that are familiar but limiting. The book explains that this process can feel uncomfortable because it challenges your identity and sense of stability. However, when you love yourself, you choose evolution over stagnation. You allow yourself to change, to redefine your goals, and to step into new possibilities without being chained to who you used to be. This willingness to grow reflects a deep respect for your potential and a trust in your ability to adapt and thrive. Another essential lesson is that loving yourself first involves taking responsibility for your life instead of waiting for rescue or perfect circumstances. Many people postpone happiness, believing it will arrive once conditions improve or someone else provides security. The book teaches that self-love is an active choice, not a passive hope. It means acknowledging your power to shape your experiences through your decisions, mindset, and actions. When you take ownership of your life, you move from a state of victimhood to one of empowerment. This shift restores your sense of control and reinforces the belief that you are capable of creating change. Loving yourself first also means learning to communicate your needs clearly and respectfully. Suppressing your desires or expecting others to read your mind often leads to frustration and misunderstanding. The book emphasizes that expressing yourself honestly is a form of self-respect. When you articulate what you need, you give others the opportunity to meet you with understanding and support. This open communication strengthens relationships and builds trust, while also affirming that your feelings and requirements are valid and worthy of consideration. The book further explores how self-love reshapes your relationship with fear. Instead of allowing fear to dictate your choices, you learn to see it as a signal rather than a stop sign. Fear often arises when you are stepping into the unknown or challenging your comfort zone. When you love yourself, you approach fear with curiosity and compassion, acknowledging its presence without allowing it to control you. This mindset empowers you to take calculated risks, pursue meaningful goals, and embrace growth with resilience and courage. Finally, loving yourself first means celebrating your progress, no matter how small it may seem. In a culture that often focuses on big achievements and external milestones, it is easy to overlook the quiet victories, choosing healthier thoughts, setting a boundary, taking a step toward a dream, or simply surviving a difficult day. The book teaches that acknowledging these moments reinforces self-worth and motivation. By honoring your efforts and growth, you build a positive relationship with yourself that encourages persistence and nurtures long-term fulfillment. Loving yourself first means learning to trust your intuition, that quiet inner voice that guides you even when logic feels uncertain and the world is full of noise. Many people ignore their intuition because they have been taught to doubt themselves and rely more on external opinions than on their own inner wisdom. The book explains that intuition is the language of self-connection. When you respect yourself, you listen to that inner guidance and honor the feelings that arise without immediately dismissing them. This trust builds a powerful sense of self-reliance, allowing you to make decisions with confidence and clarity. You begin to recognize when something feels right for your soul and when it does not, and you stop forcing yourself into situations that contradict your inner truth. Another deep teaching is that loving yourself first involves releasing the need to control outcomes and people. Control often comes from fear, the fear of loss, rejection, or uncertainty. The book reminds us that true self-love is rooted in trust in life, trust in your resilience, and trust in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. When you stop trying to control everything, you free yourself from constant tension and anxiety. You learn to flow with change instead of resisting it, and you develop emotional flexibility that allows you to adapt without losing your center. This surrender is not weakness, it is confidence in your capacity to navigate life with grace. Loving yourself first also means understanding that your past does not define your future. Many people carry old labels, painful memories, and limiting beliefs that shape how they see themselves and what they think they deserve. The book teaches that while the past can inform you, it should not imprison you. When you love yourself, you allow yourself to rewrite your story. You choose to see your experiences as sources of wisdom rather than as permanent scars. This perspective empowers you to step into new possibilities with hope and courage, knowing that growth is always available and transformation is always possible. The author emphasizes that self-love is reflected in the standards you set for your life. This includes the quality of relationships you allow, the environments you stay in, and the goals you pursue. When you respect yourself, you naturally raise your standards, not from arrogance but from clarity about your worth. You no longer tolerate chaos, disrespect, or inconsistency. Instead, you seek alignment, peace, and mutual effort. These standards become a form of self-protection and self-honoring, guiding you toward experiences that support your well-being and personal growth. Finally, loving yourself first means embracing your uniqueness without comparison. In a world dominated by social media and constant exposure to others' achievements and lifestyles, comparison can easily erode self-esteem. The book teaches that every individual has a distinct path, rhythm, and purpose. When you love yourself, you stop measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel and start appreciating your own journey. You recognize your strengths, accept your imperfections, and value your individuality. This acceptance creates inner peace and allows you to move forward with confidence, knowing that your life does not need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful and fulfilling. Loving yourself first means learning to sit with yourself in silence without feeling empty or restless. Many people constantly seek noise, distraction, and validation because they are uncomfortable being alone with their own thoughts and emotions. The book explains that solitude is not loneliness when it is filled with self-acceptance. When you truly love yourself, your own company becomes a place of peace rather than escape. You can reflect, recharge, and reconnect with your inner world without fear. This ability to be alone without feeling incomplete is a powerful sign of emotional maturity and self-respect. Another important lesson is that loving yourself first requires releasing emotional baggage that no longer belongs to you. Often, people carry guilt, anger, and pain that originated in situations where they were not fully responsible, yet they continue to blame themselves. The book teaches that holding on to such emotional weight only drains your energy and blocks your growth. Self-love involves recognizing what is yours to heal and what is not yours to carry. When you let go of unnecessary burdens, you create space for peace, clarity, and new beginnings. Loving yourself first also means allowing yourself to dream without limitation. Many individuals silence their own aspirations because of fear of failure, judgment, or disappointment. The book encourages readers to honor their dreams as expressions of their true desires and potential. When you believe in your worth, you give yourself permission to imagine a life that excites and fulfills you. This belief fuels motivation and persistence, reminding you that your goals are not unrealistic fantasies but possibilities waiting for commitment and courage. The author explains that self-love transforms the way you respond to criticism. Instead of internalizing negative opinions or becoming defensive, you learn to evaluate feedback with balance and self-trust. You can accept what is useful and discard what is not without letting it define your self-image. This emotional stability comes from knowing your value and not allowing external voices to override your inner sense of worth. Criticism becomes information, not a verdict on your identity. Finally, loving yourself first means understanding that happiness is not something to be earned through perfection or constant achievement. It is a state of being that arises when you accept yourself as you are while still striving to grow. The book emphasizes that joy is found in self-compassion, gratitude, and presence, not in endless self-judgment. When you treat yourself with kindness and patience, you create an inner environment where peace and contentment can naturally flourish. Loving yourself first means learning to forgive yourself for the times you did not know better, for the mistakes you made when you were acting from fear, insecurity, or lack of awareness. The book explains that self-forgiveness is one of the deepest forms of healing because it releases the heavy burden of regret and shame. When you forgive yourself, you stop replaying old scenes in your mind and judging your past actions with today's wisdom. You understand that every version of you was trying to survive, to learn, and to grow. This compassion toward your own journey allows you to move forward lighter, wiser, and emotionally free. Another powerful teaching is that loving yourself first involves building an inner dialogue that is supportive rather than critical. Many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to a friend, using harsh words, constant comparison, and unrealistic expectations. The book emphasizes that your inner voice shapes your confidence, your motivation, and your sense of worth. When you consciously replace self-criticism with encouragement, patience, and understanding, you create an inner environment where growth becomes natural. This shift in self-talk strengthens resilience and helps you face challenges with belief instead of doubt. Loving yourself first also means respecting your emotional energy and choosing where to invest it. Not every situation, argument, or relationship deserves your attention. The book teaches that emotional boundaries are just as important as physical ones. When you value yourself, you become selective about what you allow to disturb your peace. You learn to step back from drama, negativity, and constant conflict, understanding that your calm is a priority. This selective investment of energy helps you remain centered and focused on what truly matters in your life. The author explains that self-love changes the way you define success. Instead of measuring success only by external achievements, money, or status, you begin to value inner alignment, peace of mind, and personal fulfillment. Loving yourself first means asking not only what have I achieved, but also how do I feel about my life, and am I living in harmony with my values? This broader definition of success brings balance and prevents the emptiness that often follows purely material accomplishments. Finally, loving yourself first means trusting that you are enough even when you are still becoming. You do not need to reach a certain level, fix every flaw, or achieve every goal to deserve respect and kindness from yourself. The book reminds readers that worth is not conditional, it is inherent. When you embrace this truth, you walk through life with a quiet confidence and a steady heart, knowing that your value does not depend on perfection, but on your willingness to honor and care for yourself every step of the way. Loving yourself first means learning to celebrate your progress instead of constantly focusing on how far you still have to go. Many people live in a state of permanent dissatisfaction because they only look at the gap between where they are and where they want to be. The book teaches that acknowledging small victories builds confidence and motivation. Each step forward, no matter how small, is evidence of growth and commitment to yourself. When you recognize your efforts, you strengthen your belief in your ability to change and evolve. Another essential lesson is that self-love involves creating a healthy relationship with your body. The book explains that your body is not just an appearance to be judged, but a living system that supports you every day. Loving yourself first means listening to your body's signals, honoring its need for rest, movement, and nourishment, and treating it with respect rather than criticism. This compassionate approach fosters both physical well-being and emotional balance, helping you feel more grounded and connected to yourself. Loving yourself first also requires letting go of the habit of people-pleasing. Many individuals sacrifice their own needs and values to gain approval or avoid conflict. The book emphasizes that true self-respect means being honest about what you feel and what you need, even if it risks disappointing others. When you stop living for external validation, you begin to live in alignment with your truth. This authenticity attracts healthier relationships and reinforces your sense of self-worth. The author highlights that self-love is reflected in the way you handle setbacks. Instead of seeing failure as proof of inadequacy, you learn to view it as feedback and opportunity for learning. Loving yourself first means allowing room for mistakes without harsh judgment. You approach challenges with curiosity and resilience, understanding that growth often comes through trial and error. This mindset reduces fear and encourages continuous improvement. Finally, loving yourself first means committing to your personal growth even when it is uncomfortable. Growth often requires facing fears, questioning old beliefs, and stepping out of familiar patterns. The book reminds readers that choosing growth is an act of self-respect, a declaration that you deserve a life that expands rather than limits you. By consistently choosing what supports your evolution, you build a future that reflects your true potential and inner strength. Loving yourself first means understanding that your time is one of your most valuable resources, and how you spend it reflects how much you value yourself. The book explains that when you say yes to everything and everyone, you often end up saying no to your own rest, goals, and inner peace. By choosing where your time goes, you are choosing the quality of your life. Prioritizing activities that nourish your mind, body, and spirit is a powerful form of self-respect. Another deep insight from the book is that self-love grows when you become emotionally honest with yourself. Many people hide their true feelings, even from themselves, out of fear of being judged or misunderstood. Loving yourself first means allowing yourself to feel what you feel without labeling emotions as weak or wrong. When you acknowledge your emotions with compassion, you gain clarity and emotional intelligence, which helps you make healthier decisions and form deeper connections. The book also teaches that loving yourself first involves redefining what it means to be strong. Strength is not about suppressing pain or pretending everything is fine. It is about having the courage to face your vulnerabilities and ask for support when needed. This kind of strength builds genuine confidence because it is rooted in self-acceptance rather than in a false image of perfection. Loving yourself first means cultivating patience with your own process. Personal growth does not follow a straight line, and setbacks are part of every meaningful journey. The author reminds readers that impatience often comes from comparing your timeline with someone else's. When you trust your own pace, you reduce unnecessary pressure and create space for steady, sustainable progress. Finally, the book emphasizes that self-love is a daily practice, not a one-time decision. It is reflected in small, consistent choices such as setting boundaries, speaking kindly to yourself, resting when you are tired, and pursuing what truly matters to you. Over time, these small acts accumulate into a deep and unshakable sense of self-worth that supports you through every stage of life. Loving yourself first means learning to trust yourself even when the path ahead is uncertain. Life often presents situations where there is no clear answer, no guarantee of success, and no perfect choice. The book teaches that self-trust is built when you listen to your inner wisdom and act with courage, knowing that you will handle the outcome with strength and learning. This trust reduces anxiety and empowers you to move forward with confidence rather than fear. Another essential lesson is that self-love transforms the way you handle disappointment. Instead of collapsing into self-blame or hopelessness, you learn to comfort yourself and see disappointment as a temporary state, not a permanent identity. The book emphasizes that resilience grows when you treat yourself with kindness during difficult moments, reminding yourself that setbacks are part of the human experience and not a measure of your worth. Loving yourself first also means allowing yourself to receive love and support from others without feeling undeserving or suspicious. Many people push away care because they are used to earning love through sacrifice or performance. The book teaches that when you recognize your inherent worth, you can accept kindness without guilt and connection without fear, creating healthier and more balanced relationships. The author explains that self-love involves letting go of the need to be in constant competition. In a society that often compares success, appearance, and status, competition can quietly erode self-esteem. Loving yourself first means focusing on your own growth and progress rather than measuring yourself against others. This shift creates peace and allows you to appreciate your unique path. Finally, loving yourself first means recognizing that your life has value simply because you exist. You do not need to prove your worth through productivity, perfection, or approval. The book reminds readers that when you embrace this truth, you experience a deep sense of belonging and inner peace, knowing that you are enough just as you are. Loving yourself first means learning to release the constant need for reassurance and learning to become your own source of emotional safety. Many people look outside themselves for comfort, approval, and validation, hoping someone else will calm their fears or confirm their worth. The book explains that when you truly love yourself, you develop the ability to self-soothe, to remind yourself that you are safe, capable, and strong even in uncertain situations. This inner security allows you to move through life without desperation, without clinging, and without losing yourself in the opinions of others. You begin to trust your own presence, your own support, and your own resilience, creating a stable foundation that no external situation can easily shake. Another powerful lesson is that loving yourself first means accepting that you cannot save everyone, fix everyone, or carry everyone's emotional weight. Many kind-hearted people exhaust themselves by trying to be everything for everyone, often at the cost of their own peace and well-being. The book teaches that self-love includes recognizing your limits and respecting them. You learn that it is okay to care without sacrificing yourself, to help without losing balance, and to support without abandoning your own needs. This understanding brings emotional freedom and prevents burnout, allowing you to give from a place of fullness rather than from emptiness. Loving yourself first also means choosing honesty over comfort in your relationship with yourself. It is easy to avoid difficult truths, to ignore unhealthy patterns, or to pretend that everything is fine when it is not. The book emphasizes that self-love is not about illusion, it is about awareness. When you are honest with yourself about your fears, your habits, and your desires, you gain the power to change what no longer serves you. This self-honesty builds integrity, clarity, and confidence, because you are no longer running from your truth but standing in it with courage. The author explains that loving yourself first changes how you experience uncertainty. Instead of panicking about the future or fearing the unknown, you develop faith in your ability to adapt and grow. You understand that not having all the answers does not mean you are lost, it means you are in a phase of becoming. This trust in your own capacity to handle life's unpredictability creates calm and emotional stability. You stop demanding certainty from life and start building confidence in yourself, knowing that whatever comes, you will meet it with strength and wisdom. Finally, loving yourself first means embracing your own worth even on days when you feel unmotivated, tired, or unsure. The book reminds readers that self-love is not conditional on productivity, positivity, or success. It is present even in stillness, in rest, and in moments of doubt. When you honor yourself in every state, strong or vulnerable, confident or confused, you build a deep, unbreakable relationship with yourself. This unconditional self-acceptance becomes the source of lasting peace, quiet confidence, and emotional freedom. Loving yourself first means learning to stop seeking permission to live the life that feels true to your heart. Many people wait for approval from family, society, or circumstances before they allow themselves to choose happiness, change direction, or follow their dreams. The book teaches that your life does not require validation from the outside to be meaningful. When you respect yourself, you trust your own judgment and give yourself the authority to decide what is right for you. This inner permission creates freedom, courage, and a deep sense of ownership over your journey, allowing you to move forward without constantly doubting your choices. Another profound lesson is that loving yourself first involves releasing the fear of being misunderstood. Not everyone will see your intentions, your growth, or your heart clearly, and trying to control how others perceive you can be exhausting. The book explains that when you are aligned with your truth, misunderstanding no longer shakes your confidence. You learn to stand calmly in who you are, even when others project their assumptions or insecurities onto you. This emotional independence strengthens your self-respect and allows you to remain grounded regardless of external opinions. Loving yourself first also means learning to be present instead of constantly living in the past or worrying about the future. Many people replay old mistakes or anxiously imagine what could go wrong, which prevents them from fully experiencing the moment. The book teaches that presence is an act of self-love because it honors your current experience without judgment. When you focus on the now, you reduce mental stress, increase clarity, and cultivate gratitude for what is already in your life. This mindful awareness brings peace and helps you connect more deeply with yourself and others. The author emphasizes that self-love grows when you allow yourself to receive joy without guilt. Some people feel uncomfortable with happiness because they are used to struggle or believe they must earn every good feeling through hardship. The book reminds readers that joy is not a reward, it is a natural state that you are allowed to experience. When you permit yourself to enjoy life, to laugh, to rest, and to feel content, you affirm that you are worthy of happiness simply because you exist. This acceptance of joy nourishes your emotional well-being and strengthens your sense of inner abundance. Finally, loving yourself first means trusting that you are capable of rebuilding, no matter how many times life has broken you. The book teaches that resilience is born from self-belief and self-compassion. When you face loss, failure, or change, loving yourself means holding your own hand through the process, reminding yourself of your strength, and allowing yourself to heal at your own pace. This faith in your ability to rise again creates unshakable confidence and a deep sense of security, knowing that no matter what happens, you will always be there for yourself. Loving yourself first means learning to detach your self-worth from the roles you play in other people's lives. Many individuals define themselves as a good son or daughter, a loyal partner, a hardworking employee, or a dependable friend, and when these roles change or are no longer appreciated, they feel lost. The book explains that while roles are important, they are not your identity. Your worth is not dependent on how useful you are to others, but on who you are at your core. When you love yourself, you recognize that you have value beyond performance and service, and this understanding brings a deep sense of inner stability and freedom. Another powerful teaching is that loving yourself first means allowing yourself to outgrow environments that no longer match your mindset. Growth often creates distance between who you are becoming and where you once belonged. The book reminds readers that this is not betrayal, it is evolution. When your values, awareness, and priorities change, it is natural to seek spaces that support your new level of consciousness. Choosing environments that nourish your growth is an act of self-respect and a commitment to your future. Loving yourself first also involves letting go of the need to replay painful memories in order to justify your pain. Some people hold onto old wounds because they feel those memories explain who they are or why they feel the way they do. The book teaches that while acknowledging your past is important, living in it keeps you emotionally trapped. Self-love means allowing yourself to heal without constantly reopening old scars. It means trusting that your story can continue without being defined by its most painful chapters. The author explains that loving yourself first changes the way you handle uncertainty in relationships. Instead of constantly seeking reassurance or fearing abandonment, you develop a sense of emotional security within yourself. You understand that while connection is valuable, your happiness and peace are not dependent on someone else's presence. This inner security allows you to love freely without attachment and to remain calm even when situations are unclear or evolving. Finally, loving yourself first means believing that you deserve a life that feels meaningful, peaceful, and aligned with your soul. The book emphasizes that you are not here merely to survive, to meet expectations, or to follow a script written by others. You are here to experience fulfillment, growth, and authentic happiness. When you honor this truth, you begin to make choices that reflect your worth and your vision, creating a life that resonates with who you truly are. Loving yourself first means understanding that boundaries are not a luxury but a necessity for your emotional and mental health. The book explains that many people allow others to overstep, manipulate, or drain them because they fear confrontation or rejection. Self-love teaches that setting clear, respectful boundaries is not selfish, it is an essential act of protecting your energy and well-being. When you honor your limits, you not only safeguard yourself but also teach others how to treat you. Boundaries create clarity, reduce resentment, and allow for healthier, more balanced relationships. Another important lesson is that loving yourself first requires embracing imperfection. Society often glorifies flawless appearances, perfect achievements, and constant productivity, which can create a sense of inadequacy. The book emphasizes that self-love means accepting yourself exactly as you are while still striving to grow. Your flaws do not diminish your worth, they make you human. When you embrace your imperfections with compassion, you release unnecessary shame, build resilience, and cultivate a more authentic, confident version of yourself. Loving yourself first also involves prioritizing your needs without guilt. Many people feel selfish when they choose what serves their well-being over the expectations of others. The book teaches that taking care of yourself is the foundation for being able to care for others effectively. When you prioritize your mental, emotional, and physical health, you operate from a place of abundance rather than depletion. This ensures that your contributions to others are sustainable and genuine, not motivated by obligation or fear. The author explains that self-love transforms your relationship with criticism and judgment. Instead of internalizing negative feedback or allowing harsh words to shake your self-esteem, you learn to filter input through a lens of self-awareness and self-trust. You can evaluate what is constructive, discard what is irrelevant, and maintain confidence in your inherent value. This emotional clarity strengthens your decision-making and allows you to navigate life with greater calm and stability. Finally, loving yourself first means cultivating gratitude for your journey, including the struggles, mistakes, and challenges that have shaped you. The book emphasizes that gratitude is not only about celebrating success, but also about recognizing the lessons embedded in difficult experiences. When you appreciate your growth, resilience, and the progress you have made, you reinforce a sense of worth and self-respect. This mindset creates a life filled with purpose, emotional balance, and enduring inner peace. Loving yourself first means learning to embrace your solitude as a space of power, reflection, and growth rather than loneliness or inadequacy. The book emphasizes that solitude allows you to connect deeply with your desires, fears, and dreams. In moments of quiet reflection, you gain insight into who you truly are, independent of external influences. This self-awareness strengthens decision-making, boosts emotional resilience, and cultivates a profound sense of independence. By valuing your alone time, you create an internal sanctuary where your peace is prioritized over distraction, comparison, or validation seeking. Another key lesson is that loving yourself first involves releasing toxic patterns and relationships that drain your energy or diminish your sense of self. The book teaches that part of self-love is identifying people, habits, and environments that conflict with your values and growth. When you courageously step away from these influences, you send a message to yourself and the world that your well-being matters. This practice of conscious removal fosters clarity, emotional safety, and the space needed for healthier connections to enter your life, aligning with your authentic journey. Loving yourself first also means committing to self-education and personal development, not to meet societal expectations but to honor your potential. The book explains that growth comes from intentional learning, reflection, and curiosity. By exploring new ideas, cultivating skills, and expanding your awareness, you empower yourself to make choices that reflect your highest self. This proactive approach reinforces the understanding that self-respect is deeply intertwined with your willingness to evolve, adapt, and embrace lifelong learning. The author emphasizes that self-love requires a conscious shift from seeking external validation to building internal affirmation. Many people measure their worth based on likes, compliments, or achievements recognized by others, which creates emotional instability. Loving yourself first encourages cultivating internal benchmarks of success, pride, and satisfaction. By affirming your own value and celebrating your efforts, you create emotional autonomy, allowing you to pursue goals and relationships from a place of fullness rather than neediness or fear. Finally, loving yourself first means understanding that rest is not laziness, and self-care is not indulgence. It is a strategic investment in your emotional, mental, and physical sustainability. The book explains that consistent, intentional self-care replenishes your energy, increases focus, and reduces burnout. When you honor your need for rest, you cultivate patience, presence, and balance. This foundational respect for your body and mind reinforces the principle that self-love is an active practice woven into the everyday choices that sustain and empower you. Loving yourself first also means learning to release resentment, bitterness, and anger that weigh down your spirit. Holding on to grudges may feel like self-protection, but the book teaches that these negative emotions primarily harm you. Self-love involves consciously choosing forgiveness, not to excuse bad behavior, but to free your heart from carrying unnecessary burdens. This liberation fosters clarity, emotional resilience, and a sense of peace that allows you to engage in life fully, unshackled by past pain. Another lesson is that loving yourself first encourages setting ambitious yet realistic goals aligned with your authentic desires rather than societal pressure. Many people chase achievements dictated by external expectations and end up exhausted, disconnected, and unfulfilled. The book emphasizes that when your goals resonate with your inner values and passions, effort becomes energizing, and success becomes meaningful. This alignment strengthens your self-respect, motivation, and commitment to the life you truly want to live. Loving yourself first involves acknowledging and celebrating your uniqueness. The book teaches that comparison with others erodes confidence and joy, while embracing your individuality creates empowerment. When you recognize your distinct strengths, experiences, and perspectives, you cultivate self-pride and emotional independence. This self-recognition allows you to navigate life with authenticity and courage, trusting that your path does not need to mirror anyone else's to be valid and meaningful. The author explains that self-love transforms how you handle setbacks and adversity. Rather than internalizing failure as evidence of inadequacy, you learn to view challenges as lessons and opportunities for growth. This shift in perspective reduces fear, strengthens resilience, and nurtures confidence in your ability to navigate life's uncertainties. Loving yourself first means approaching every difficulty with patience, self-compassion, and a belief that you are capable of overcoming it while emerging stronger and wiser. Finally, loving yourself first means creating a mindset of abundance rather than scarcity. Many people operate from a place of fear, believing there is never enough time, love, success, or validation. The book teaches that self-love involves recognizing that you have enough within yourself, enough strength, creativity, and capacity to live fully. This abundance mindset fosters generosity, gratitude, and optimism, allowing you to engage with the world from a position of confidence rather than lack. Loving yourself first means learning to embrace your emotions as guides rather than obstacles. The book explains that feelings like sadness, anger, or fear are not signs of weakness, but signals that something within you needs attention, understanding, or change. When you honor your emotions without judgment, you gain clarity about your desires, boundaries, and values. This emotional intelligence fosters self-awareness, better decision-making, and a stronger sense of inner peace. You learn to respond to life with mindfulness rather than reacting impulsively, creating a life of conscious choice and emotional stability. Another powerful lesson is that loving yourself first requires recognizing and dismantling limiting beliefs that no longer serve your growth. Many people internalize messages from childhood, culture, or past failures that tell them they are not enough or cannot succeed. The book teaches that self-love involves questioning these beliefs, challenging their validity, and replacing them with empowering thoughts that reinforce your worth and potential. This mental reprogramming fosters confidence, creativity, and a proactive approach to achieving your goals while staying aligned with your authentic self. Loving yourself first also means taking full responsibility for your happiness and not outsourcing it to external circumstances, people, or achievements. The book emphasizes that while external joys are valuable, true contentment comes from cultivating inner satisfaction, gratitude, and peace. When you own your emotional state, you reduce dependency on others, protect your energy, and make choices that support your well-being. This internal sovereignty empowers you to live with intention, resilience, and a deep sense of fulfillment, regardless of life's unpredictable nature. The author explains that self-love transforms the way you approach relationships. Instead of seeking validation or trying to fix others, you cultivate connections based on mutual respect, care, and authenticity. Loving yourself first allows you to communicate openly, honor your boundaries, and attract relationships that uplift rather than drain you. By prioritizing your emotional health, you create space for meaningful, balanced, and lasting connections that reflect your self-worth and your ability to love from a place of fullness. Finally, loving yourself first means learning to celebrate the journey rather than obsessing over the destination. Many people focus exclusively on goals or outcomes, overlooking the growth, lessons, and small victories along the way. The book teaches that joy, pride, and fulfillment emerge when you acknowledge every step you take toward becoming your best self. By appreciating your progress, even through mistakes and setbacks, you cultivate a mindset of gratitude, resilience, and self-respect that sustains your personal and emotional evolution. Loving yourself first means cultivating a daily practice of self-affirmation and reflection. The book emphasizes that long-term change does not come from a single realization but from consistent, conscious choices that reinforce your value and identity. By taking a few moments each day to acknowledge your strengths, appreciate your efforts, and remind yourself of your worth, you build an unshakable foundation of self-confidence and inner peace. These daily habits act like bricks that construct a fortress of emotional stability and resilience, allowing you to navigate life with clarity and calm. Another essential lesson is that loving yourself first involves learning to release guilt, shame, and the false sense of responsibility for other people's emotions or outcomes. Many individuals carry unnecessary weight because they believe they must control or fix what is not theirs to manage. The book teaches that by respecting your own limits and understanding that you are not responsible for everyone, you free yourself from emotional exhaustion. This release creates mental space for focus, creativity, and joy, empowering you to invest your energy where it truly matters. Loving yourself first also means prioritizing your dreams and passions without fear of judgment or failure. The book explains that self-love encourages action even when circumstances are imperfect and outcomes uncertain. By pursuing what excites and fulfills you, you align your life with your true purpose. This pursuit strengthens your confidence, nurtures resilience, and reinforces the belief that you are worthy of a life filled with meaning and fulfillment, irrespective of external opinions or temporary setbacks. The author emphasizes that self-love involves embracing your imperfections with compassion and understanding. Society often imposes unrealistic standards that create feelings of inadequacy, but the book teaches that imperfection is a natural part of being human. By accepting your flaws, mistakes, and vulnerabilities, you cultivate authenticity, humility, and emotional balance. This acceptance does not prevent growth, rather, it provides a solid foundation from which genuine transformation can occur, free from the constraints of self-judgment or fear. Finally, loving yourself first means fully committing to your journey of growth, healing, and self-discovery. The book closes with the profound truth that self-love is a lifelong practice, a continuous journey of learning, forgiveness, and self-empowerment. When you honor yourself through conscious choices, boundaries, emotional awareness, and self-compassion, you create a life of fulfillment, resilience, and authentic happiness. This practice allows you to face life's challenges with courage, embrace its joys with gratitude, and walk your path with unwavering confidence in your inherent worth. Loving yourself first means understanding that your value is inherent, not dependent on achievements, approval, or others' opinions. The book teaches that true self-respect emerges when you acknowledge your worth independently of external validation. By prioritizing your needs and feelings, you cultivate inner peace, clarity, and the confidence to make decisions aligned with your authentic self. This foundation of self-love allows you to navigate challenges without being swayed by fear, doubt, or criticism. Loving yourself first requires developing emotional independence. The book explains that many people seek validation or comfort externally, which creates dependency and vulnerability. By learning to soothe, support, and reassure yourself, you build resilience and self-reliance. Emotional independence allows you to maintain inner balance in stressful situations and to engage in relationships from a place of choice rather than need. Another key lesson is the importance of setting boundaries. The book emphasizes that saying no to things that drain your energy or compromise your values is an act of self-respect. Boundaries protect your mental and emotional health, allowing you to focus on what nurtures growth, joy, and well-being. Clear boundaries also communicate your worth to others, ensuring relationships remain respectful and supportive. Loving yourself first involves embracing imperfection. The book teaches that striving for unattainable perfection often leads to self-criticism and dissatisfaction. By accepting flaws and mistakes as natural parts of life, you cultivate compassion toward yourself. This self-compassion fosters confidence, emotional resilience, and the courage to take risks without fear of judgment. Self-love is expressed through prioritizing your growth. The book emphasizes that investing in personal development, education, and self-reflection enhances your capacity to live authentically. When you dedicate time to understanding yourself, learning, and evolving, you strengthen your identity and prepare for meaningful engagement with the world. Chapter 2: Healing and Forgiveness. Loving yourself first includes forgiving your past. The book explains that many people carry guilt, regret, or shame from past actions, which hinders progress. Self-forgiveness releases these burdens, allowing you to reclaim your energy and focus on present and future growth. By accepting that you acted with the awareness you had at the time, you create space for healing and self-compassion. Another crucial aspect is cultivating self-awareness. The book teaches that understanding your thoughts, emotions, and patterns empowers you to make conscious choices. Self-awareness enables you to recognize triggers, manage reactions, and align actions with your values, enhancing emotional intelligence and stability. Loving yourself first means celebrating your achievements, no matter how small. The book emphasizes that recognizing progress reinforces self-esteem and motivation. By appreciating each step toward your goals, you build momentum, strengthen confidence, and cultivate a positive relationship with yourself. Self-love involves creating a nurturing environment. The book explains that the people, spaces, and activities you engage with profoundly influence your well-being. Surrounding yourself with supportive, uplifting influences reinforces your sense of worth and fosters growth, clarity, and emotional balance. Loving yourself first teaches you to trust your intuition. The book highlights that inner guidance often provides clarity when logic fails. By listening to your intuition, you make decisions aligned with your authentic self, reducing doubt and increasing confidence.